Welcome back. It's a preview Saturday afternoon's Premier League match between Aston Villa and Swansea City. Pascal started with a home side, a thumping win at Sunderland last time out.
Well, it's brilliant, wasn't it? Obviously the first half performance, it couldn't have gone any better for sure. I mean, I think many people would have picked that game to be a really tight game. Yeah. A lot of Sunderland's home games this season have been very cagey, but I mean, obviously the Sunderland's defending for some of the goals was horrendous. I mean, the Agbon-Lahore one where he cut inside, I don't know what Van Arnholt was doing, he sort of just stuck a leg kind of half near the ball, but it's horrific from Sunderland. Obviously Villa, they've capitalised, and you know, the goals, that's been their biggest worry this season, isn't it? They haven't been able to score. You know, before their last two wins, you know, they'd only scored twice in one other Premier League game this season, and that was at home against Leicester, who are bottom, and they've scored now 2 and 4 in their last two games. So Sherwood's obviously identified that. I think he's probably sorted out the finishing a bit. You know, been working on their finishing. There's some good finishes in that game, and you know, finally they're scoring goals, looking good at last. And obviously the Sherwood factor when he first came in, obviously losing his first two games, didn't look like he'd be able to have the impact he has, but obviously as time's gone on, he's finally starting to click, and yeah, he's doing a great job at the moment, and Villa fans, you know, they can sort of start to look up the table now.
Yeah, I think when you look at Villa, it's a strange one being down there, and you look at the players they've got, Benteke, Agbon-Lahore, you know, they're good going forward, aren't they? Obviously they've got problems in midfield, there's not too much creation. I think we spoke about that before, but you know, they've won the last 3 games now, and Sherwood, you know, deserves a lot of credit for that. Back-to-back games against West Brom, one in the Cup, one in the League. Obviously that's great for the fans, and I think it's given the fans, isn't it, like you say, is optimism now, which they didn't have earlier in the season. Under Paul Lambert, it went stale. You know, there's nothing much going on. And Sherwood, you know, he's coming. I think it's his that character, isn't he? He can get people going and stuff, which he has done. And obviously, they're still in trouble in the league, isn't there? There's no getting away from that. You know, you mentioned the tough games they've got coming up, but to win that game, you know, 4-0 away from home in any game in any league is very impressive, and they can take massive heart.
Yeah, obviously, if they keep going the way they're going with the FA Cup semi-final coming up as well, it sort of looks like a good month then. But you know, I think it would be quite a juggling act for sure. That FA Cup semi-final, you know, a lot of fans will see that as vitally important, but you know, they're far from safety at the moment. Obviously 2 wins in a row, they're up to 16th in the table, 3 points clear of the drop zone, but you know, with Burnley winning last week, they haven't pulled away that far, still only 3 points, and you know, they'll see this one as a must-win game, because Swansea at home, you could see them winning it, but their next 3 away games after this are Man United, Spurs and Man City. So you know, even those, you know, Spurs didn't look great last week, and you wouldn't expect them to necessarily pick up any points from those 3 games. So Sherwood will, you know, identify this one as a must-win, and then, you know, in between those games they've got that semi-final against, you know, we don't know if it's Blackburn Rovers or Liverpool yet, but you know, they could beat either of those sides for sure. Obviously if Blackburn pull off a shock, then Villa's chances of getting to the final just go up so much, because Liverpool are playing better at the moment. But an FA Cup semi-final at Wembley, brilliant for the fans, given that they've had a really tough season. You know, they haven't even been able to celebrate many goals, let alone wins this season, so it is looking up for them at the moment, but there's still a long way to go. They're far from safety yet.
You mentioned Liverpool, they were obviously Swansea's opponents last time out on Monday evening, and it was a difficult game. Swansea lost 1-0. They were very good in the first half. You know, Gomes and Shelvey played well. He always seems to play well against his former club, doesn't he? And Routledge, people like that in wide areas. But Swansea should have taken the lead in the first half. You get the feeling with Swansea, they're that type of team, when they're playing well, they need to take the lead, don't they? Because at the back, Geordie and Matt, you know, kept giving the ball away, and Ashley Williams has had a decent season, but it gets a little bit sort of, when he gets isolated, you fancy obviously Sturridge's pace and Sterling in the wide area. Obviously Liverpool did what the good teams do, went there and won, but the performance was good. But I think Swansea need to be a bit careful, don't they, this season. Obviously it's going a bit sort of stale. I mean, they're sitting in 9th in the league, and they're nowhere near the relegation zone, so last time out it was difficult, but they deserve to get something from that game, and the fact they didn't would be disappointing.
Yeah, I think the goal scoring is a little bit of an issue. Obviously since Bonnie's gone, you know, Gomes has been the number 1 option up there, but he hasn't scored many goals. No. And there was the period, you know, in January when it looked like, even though Bonnie was gone and he knew he'd become the number 1 striker, that he wanted to leave. You know, I think, you know, Monk will identify that. I think the striker has to be one of their top targets this summer, because Gomes, he's never really quite found him. When you've got players, you know, you've got Sigurdsson, Montero, the likes of Routledge and Dyer, they're creative players, exciting players, and if, you know, it's proved when Bonnie was there, he scored a lot of goals for them, and that's somewhere they have to identify. I mean, the rest of this season, you know, the season's pretty much over for them. You know, they're 9th in the table, they're 15 points clear of the relegation zone, but you know, 16 away from the top 4, so they're actually nearer the drop zone than they are the top 4, but they're still safe. You know, they're not going to threaten either of those 2 positions. They're safe in the middle of the table. We've said it for the sort of last month or so. We know that they're going to finish in the mid-table places, and you know, I think Monk, you know, he will already be planning for next season. There's no problem with that, because you know, they've done it. They've had a good season. They lost their best player. You know, they sold him for a lot of money to one of the big clubs. So now it's time to look at the summer and next season, because they're going to finish mid-table, and they should be fine.
Doesn't look like they're sort of battling Stoke and West Ham for that top 8, maybe, doesn't it? I think the top 7, obviously Spurs, Southampton, etc., pulling clear of that. So if they can finish top 8, it'd be decent. But like you said, the season's a bit dead. I think they're unbeaten in 4 games against Villa, though, so that can take a bit of confidence in that. What's your score prediction for Swansea?
Yeah, I think this one will be a draw. I think even though Villa are pretty confident at the moment, Swansea still do have a lot of quality, so I'm going to back a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I actually agree as well. So I'm going to go 2-2. Though. I think it'll be goals. So Villa seem to have found that scoring touch at the moment. So about 2-2. So neither can separate these 2 sides. Thanks for joining us.